Hello and welcome to the daily conversation for the trades. I am your host, Christene Marie. I hope my connection is good. Um, it looks like it may not be on my end, so we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. Y'all, I'm joining live with you from San Antonio, Texas. I literally pulled off at a little coffee shop to do the show because I'm in between transitions. I just flew in. So hopefully the connection's fine. I am your host, Christene Marie, as I said, and I am excited to continue the conversation we started yesterday regarding data because honestly, as I was going through it, there was a lot that we were covering in real time. And so I wanted to slow down and kind of pump the brakes with you a bit and just examine how to really capture the data that we need and then how to utilize it. And so yesterday we talked a lot about some of the things that I will look at from a CMO perspective. And well, honestly, one of the biggest reasons that conversation happened yesterday was because some of our uh, conversations with clients have been surrounding why we need to be able to have access to this data, why this is so incredibly important, because other vendors are coming in and saying, "Oh, we don't need data. We can just go ahead and start running ads for you." And a lot of companies can do that. They can run ads, and they'll probably actually have success doing that. However, what's so important for the chief marketing officer perspective to have, they're responsible for every stage of the customer journey. And again, this is my own methodology coming forth. So I'm a bit biased because I've seen this to be so incredibly true that it is the responsibility of the person in that marketing role to look and examine every single part of these. We talk about the customer journey and liken it to buckets. So the lead comes in and it's like water pours into that first bucket, which is the call center. They are responsible. They're the ones monitoring that first bucket to engage with the lead in a timely, efficient manner, and then move them to the next phase of the journey, which is bucket number two. And that's really where the appointment takes place. That's where sales is managing that role. And then sales passes that lead, hopefully converted, to the next phase, which is the proposal design aspect, if that's a part of the customer journey. And that's really where it actually goes to kind of the back office, where it's let's design this project, make sure that if engineering needs to be involved, we've got the right specs in place. And in that bucket number three, that's where the conversion takes place. Then we move that to production. Now the lead has turned into a customer successfully. Now the customer is moving on to the fulfillment side of the customer journey. And then the final bucket that a lot of us forget about is the final stage of let's convert that customer into an evangelist. Y'all, it is way cheaper to get leads from happy customers who talk to people in their neighborhood than it is to pay for a cold lead at the very top of the journey. People are so I guess you could say bought into the referrals of others where they actually already are predisposed to work with you if someone else has already successfully gone through that experience. They trust their neighbor. They're actually some of our most successful revenue streams have been neighborhood websites. And so not only should you be active on the neighborhood website, but also making sure that you're equipping your customers with the ability to be able to share about you, post about you, maybe even having a referral. I would say, honestly, a referral system set up so that every time they refer someone to you, they get some money and some thanks and praise. So that's the final stage of the customer journey. So as we're talking about data, there are notable data marks for each one of these buckets. And the reason why the chief marketing officer, whether it's fractional or in house, needs to be examining the data from each one of these pieces is to be able to identify where are there leaks among the buckets, either a leak in the bucket itself or a leak in the transition from lead to appointment to customer, and so on. So the data is really what shows us leaks in the bucket and also leaks in communication gaps and the transfer. So I want to start with that first category, the customer call center. And it's not just the customer call center. It could be the automated text messages that go out, the automated emails that go out. It could be a many different numbers that we're going to be looking at. So I want to go through with you some of the numbers that I personally look at because it really makes a difference what I have access to as chief marketing officer and what your team needs to be able to provide your CMO or someone fractional that you're hiring in. So one, you need to make sure that you're able to access, again, not just the call center information, but also vendor information. So as much as possible, and this is beyond digital, y'all. So when I'm thinking of the top of the funnel, think of it like literally visualize a funnel, right? So top of the funnel, it's there's a lot more space there than as the lead turns into an appointment, turns into a sold customer, right? So at the very, very top, there's a lot of data points that we need to track. And this is where it can be kind of the most, this is where a lot of people spend a lot of time, and it's also the most important. So are you doing any traditional ads? Radio, TV, billboards? Each one of those is going to have data, and we'll come back to what those numbers specifically should be. Are you doing digital? Facebook ads, TikTok, YouTube, Google? What about doing affiliate advertising? There's going to be data there too. So these are the different marketing channels that we'll first kind of look at. And that's even before the lead, as it's coming into that first bucket. So some of the more traditional metrics that I'm looking at specifically for billboards, a lot of times these companies, they are able to actually use GPS systems and see how many cars are passing by daily to get the number of impressions. Okay, on average, we see this kind of traffic pattern on weekends, holidays, weekdays, during these seasons, times of months. For example, summer is going to be a different traffic pattern than the school year. So paying attention to those traffic patterns. Also, I actually like, ideally, this is what I've done in the past when my clients are running traditional ads, is I'll ask the local salesman to go drive by and actually identify, is this even a good placement? Because a lot of times they'll just show you a picture of a billboard. You're like, I don't know if that's a good placement or not. So getting boots on the ground data in addition to the data from the vendor themselves. So you want to be looking at real hard evidence, boots on the ground. You also want to be looking at what are the impressions they're going to give you? What do you actually have any kind of QR code or even unique phone number associated with that billboard, so that if somebody does call or snaps a picture while they're driving? I like putting billboards, especially when it's a local community. I like putting it by a stoplight so that when they're stopped, they can snap the picture or scan the QR code. And then beyond that, there are the aspects where there's just going to be impressions. It's a brand play. But then this is where the call center is so important. The call center needs to ask the customer, where did you hear about us? Because here's the thing, the customer has their own brand conscious awareness, but then there's also the subconscious in terms of where did they actually see you? How many times did they have to see you? Google found that a customer needs to see you anywhere between 20 to 500 times before they take an action. That blows my mind. There's this whole old number, and I actually learned this from a dear friend of mine. There's this old number from, I think it was back in the 70s or 80s, where it was like, oh, you need to have 5 to 7 touch points before a customer chooses you. Nowadays, it's anywhere between 20 and 500. So that's a huge, huge, huge disparity, right? And if you're working with a customer and your product is much more so emergency or kind of crisis, it's actually really important that you're building the brand recognition and awareness leading up to before they ever have a problem. That way, when they're in crisis mode, they're already predisposed towards you because they recognize your brand. Maybe you've even, beyond just having a digital placement, maybe you've actually shown up at a baseball game where they just love that team. So they actually have now an emotional connection to you because they subconsciously remember you associated with a place that they loved and had so much fun in. So the metrics that we're looking at from the brand perspective, there's not a ton of attribution that we can do in terms of traditional billboards. But what we can do in the call center is say, hey, where did you hear about us? Where did you see us? They might say the baseball game. They might say the billboard. And I love getting that information from as a CMO, because I want to know, where do they think that they saw us, even if they actually converted on Google. Okay, so let's go to radio. There's frankly, running on radio is a really, really good play to have kind of those little jingles. Jingles are never going to go out of style. The more that you can be memorable with your jingle and having some semblance of little tune associated with it, the better, because again, it solidifies in their mind. You can, there's and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. There's the digital radio that you can actually play on your computer, and then people can actually take action and click right there. And then there's just the audio from your car, the more traditional radio. And there's going to be different metrics there. Talking about TV. TVs nowadays, you can pause and you can scan the QR code that's there, or you can pause and take the photo right then and there. Y'all, I like having unique phone numbers attributed to these different activations. And it would be a different phone number 4 different, if you're running, let's say, a promotion on, and actually I want to get to that in a moment. If you're running a promotion in a local market, having the phone number changed just ever so slightly for that promotion. It can be, that traditional, call 1-800-plumbing. It could be something like that. But I do like having unique phone numbers and QR codes for the different activations to see what really got them. Was it the 15% off? Was it a Mother's Day campaign? Like, what got them to take action? What I wanted to get back to with the promo, having a word that says call us and reference, 15 off. That's a really easy way to track, in addition to or in supplementation of a unique phone number or QR code. You can just have them say whatever the word is. In addition, in print, same thing. Have the phrase, have the discount code, and have a QR code there as well. So adding in the unique phone number, unique QR code, a unique promo code thing that they say on the phone. But then here's the thing. Now let's talk about the back end. We're still in bucket one. The call center needs to have the system set up so that they can track accordingly and thus have attribution to whatever that is in terms. And this is more so traditional, because with digital, you really can track down, okay, this person came from this ad. You can get really, really, really specific, which is great. And your vendors should be the ones to help you set that up. And we'll get to that in a moment. But it's so important that you have the setup where your customer call center can ask intended questions to help marketing have attribution on the traditional side. And I really want to drive this point home as we're talking about data. That attribution is never going to be 1000% accurate. They probably saw your ad on TV. They probably heard your ad on the radio. And then they probably saw maybe a print ad. And then that's where they scan the QR code. So they're going to be seeing you in different places, and it all is solidifying in the subconscious mind until it's time to take action. And then whichever place they are, whether it's traditional or digital, and they take action there, you probably had them see you anywhere between 200 or 20 to 500 times. So you need to be sure that as we're running these kind of brand campaigns, we have that understanding. These are brand campaigns. They're not conversion campaigns. They're very, very much so to be taking place while people aren't even ready to purchase yet. But it's just about developing a relationship. And so when we take that approach to branding, and maybe we'll talk about this later this week, let me know if you'd like to. Branding is intended to establish trust. It's intended to establish relationship, where you're coming forward from a really authentic presence, where this is who we are, this is what we value, this is what we care about, this is our why, but also with empathy. And we understand you. We serve people just like you. We serve families like yours, and you're why we exist today. We want to protect your home, your greatest asset. Insert your brand slogan, tagline, your why. But y'all, it's with authenticity and with empathy. And then where they meet, where the audience meets you is in any numerous marketing channels or brand activations. So let's talk about the digital side. It's really important that you ask your vendors to set up UTMs. And what that means, it's like this string of characters, numbers, and it goes on kind of the back end of their campaign. So what it would be is that if I was to go to Google local plumbers near me and I see a sponsored ad and I click on it, I would go to Joe's Plumbing / UTM source Google, PPC medium, and then it would have this like string of numbers. Ideally, you're working with either your CMO or your person in-house or an outside vendor who's overseeing all of your marketing to ensure that all of your vendors are using the same type of coding, let's say, so that the UTMs are all housed and look the same, so that then the data can be stored in a similar way. That way, when I'm being CMO and I'm looking at everything, I can really actually see with ease, okay, here's all of the sources, here's all the mediums, here's all the creative, right? Because you might have 5 or 6 different pictures, effectively creative ads that are running all on Google or all on Facebook. So it's all the same campaign, but they're all different creative. So they all need to be named differently so that I can attribute, oh, this one got a lot of clicks. This one got a lot of conversions. This one got a lot of impressions. Okay, let's actually think through that. So the reason why we want to be capturing all this data is one, we want to know what is resonating. We want to know, where are we building trust? Where are we establishing relationship? Where are people actually really like, man, it's moving the needle. Again, it's so important. Just to kind of summarize this, and we'll probably continue the data conversation, because there's just so much here. But I wanted to kind of back up, because yesterday we went all the way down the rabbit hole, and I wanted to take more of a bird's eye view here. It's really important that we remember what we deem as true attribution, in terms of, oh, look, man, we're getting all of our leads from this one campaign or from this one source. They're seeing you across so many more mediums. And so that's where you have to look at the bottom line numbers of the actual cost per conversion, the actual cost per lead per campaign. And it gets a little bit tricky there, because there's a lot happening on the marketing perspective. But I just want to remind us all that a lot of the brand spend in traditional advertising 100% still has a place. There is data that we can learn from it, but that data may not show you the actual attribution of where that person came from. And so we need to make sure that we're not only making purchase decisions for our marketing spend based on one isolated data metric, which is conversions. You want to be looking at impressions, seeing what people are clicking on, where's our audience, where are they spending their time, and then go hang out where they are. Even if we don't have clear numbers saying, oh man, all these customers came directly from this source, you know, have your logo on your kid's baseball team. There's no action for somebody to take to click and convert right then and there, but man, do they feel endeared towards you, and man, are they grateful for your support in the local community. Branding and marketing is so much bigger than just one source attribution. It is so broad, but the goal is to go deep enough that we have the ability to at least follow the yellow brick road to some semblance and see where your audience is hanging out, what they care about, where they're spending their time, and what are they clicking on. So with that, thank you all so much for joining me today. We went a little bit over. I always try to aim these to keep these to under 15 minutes. We're at 17:05. So I'm going to hang up. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you tomorrow on the Daily Conversation.